702.
Weekend Breakfast with Gugu Mhlungu.
Standing in for mbaqanga on 702.
Live.
Online.
Smartphones.
DSTV.
92.7.
And 106 FM.
702. Let's walk the talk.
It's 18 minutes before 10 o'clock. Welcome back to Weekend Breakfast on 702. Time for us to get into our literature corner. And as I've been saying throughout the show, this week we're looking at Introduction to South Africa Guitar Styles Volume 1. This is by musician and author Billy Monama, who joins us in studio this morning. Billy, good morning.
Good morning, Gogs. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm fine, man.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Yes, I mean, it feels, I don't know, man. it feels great to be here, man.
Yeah?
Because I've been speaking with you over the phone, for the past 2 years. So, yeah, I mean, it feels like life,
Yeah, it's good to have you in studio.
Thank you so much.
So, okay, before we get to the book, in fact, I guess it's part of the book. Why the decision to focus on the guitar specifically?
The guitar, is the voice of South African music, African music. I mean, how do you know the music is maskanda? It's because of that introduction that starts the music. Yeah,
and it's a very specific sound.
Yes. It plays a very, let me say, a distinctive role, And if Thomas Chauke start playing the guitar, how do you know that music is XiTsonga? It's the guitar, is an easily accessible instrument. Many households, they have like a guitar because it's portable, easy to carry around, So that's the reason why I chose to focus on the guitar, and also that I'm a guitarist, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And what was it about the guitar for you when you picked it up, or when you decided that this was going to be your particular instrument? What was it about it that said, okay, I like this one?
Yeah, I grew up at the time whereby, I think I might say that I'm privileged to had like neighbors who blasted me with music, but they did not know that they were baptizing me with music. So the sound of the guitar was always at my disposal. My neighbor used to host Stokvels, and through the whole night, the sound of the guitar of Mahlathini and Maotela Queens, the Mahona Toshe, the Max Mankwani, they will be playing that. And then when I go to church, and then there will be a band playing there, and there will be a guitar player playing, and those old guys, they're the ones who taught us that sound. When I remember the day when I walked in church, and I'm like, man, here's this sound that I always hear at my neighbor, Stokvels,
yeah.
So
and so when you then picked up the guitar, what was the sound you wanted to make? Because obviously you say the guitar it's everywhere. It's kind of in every part of, music.
Yes.
And for you, what was the sound you wanted to make with the guitar?
I was introduced first, the music that I first played, it was mbaqanga. And then as years, as I evolved over the years, and then I began the love to be interested in jazz music, in African jazz. And then at that time, remember, on television, on radio, the music that was played, it was, the African jazz, contemporary, the kwela, and all that, and all those guys. And they've inspired me to say, what is it? I want to go in school and do this thing. And then I went to school. That's where they started, So now when I went to school, I was doing political science. Because I always loved history. So now we're getting somewhere, me and you. So now at school, I was part of the SRC. I failed my standard 9 3 times. I was expelled, and then because I was conscientized, at that young age, and I was like, why are we having all this curriculum, in the schools? And then when I went to varsity, I saw these youngsters were carrying guitars, actually my peers, let me rather say, and I followed them to the class. when I get there, I'm like, oh, there's a music class here. I'm going to enroll for this. My mother was like, no way you're going to do this thing.
Yes.
And then...
What did she want you to do? Medicine?
She wanted me to have a certificate in some things that I can use in corporate.
Yes.
But I was not there. And that's when I opted to do political science because I was interested in doing politics. So that's why the book today, because I've always loved history and documentation.
And I find it quite interesting that one of the descriptions of the book is, Billy Monama's South African guitar book aims to decolonize the curriculum, which I thought was so interesting. Talk to me about that. But also you were saying, for instance, you get to varsity and you kind of look at the curriculum and you go, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't even have a diploma or a degree, but I told myself that I'm going to produce a book that is going to be a reference to students, researchers, journalists, everyone who's interested about South African music evolution. This comes from that when I was traveling, I went to Europe to do a cultural exchange program. When I was there, I felt so embarrassed that I couldn't give depth about, I couldn't exchange in depth about where I come from with the guitar. And then when I came back, I was like, no, there's no time. And then I when I started doing the research, this was like about 15 years ago. When I started doing the research, there was not even a single book in the library that was speaking about, in depth about South African music evolution. There was none. And I was like, how come at school we have Charlie Parker, the John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Wes Montgomery, B.B. King, and then the South African content, it comes in 2 sentences. Because I was conscientized, I was like, no, I was against that. And then I dropped out of the school. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And when I started doing master classes, now I'm doing master classes where? At the universities that I don't even have degree for, and then, trust me, when I get to university, all the professors, they sit down, they take out their notepads. Because I'm bringing a research, I'm bringing a story that they've never had. Because I went to KwaZulu-Natal, I lived with those guys there, people from the ground who they taught me how to play maskanda.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And then I brought it, I put that in the book. And then I use my experience of, academic nyana lengnayo, that introduction, and then I started putting theory and what they're doing together. That is why I packaged it in a book. Yeah.
And you say you were working on this book for 15 years.
Yes.
That is a long time.
It is.
Why did it take that long? Like, was it 15 years continuous, or was like 15 years on and off with like life in between? What was happening in that time?
Remember, I'm a performing artist, I'm a musician, so now, yes, it was on and off, but it was never, solely, entirely off, because everywhere I'll be thinking about the book, even though I'm performing at the jazz festival somewhere, and then I'm looking at the people around, I'm observing, I will be thinking about the book and how much people they can learn, and working with different producers, professional producers. I can't even mention their names. They don't know what is the different sound. And then I saw that there's a gap. There's a knowledge that is missing here. People who can differentiate between mbaqanga and maskanda. Those things are two different things. Kwela music and African jazz or Marabi. Those are two different things. Those are two different sounds. So now I had to. That thing inspired me to go on, and also in the primary objective of it was that the masters, they were dying. Rapidly, they were dying each and every day. People, they were dying. And remember, when these masters, I'm talking about the legends, when they die with the information, they die with the library. So I had to do something about it, because imagine if someone dies with the library, what's going to happen in the future? Then that's like, no, I'm going to do this book. That's what kept me motivated. And also, life happens, sponsorships. I'm trying to tell this institution that, listen, I want to write a book. They're like, what are you doing? No one knew what I was doing, what I was trying to achieve. And you ask for 100 rand, they give you R5 or maybe R2, you know, and you must see to finish in the budget how to produce the work. So that is why there was stop and goes because of the financial, hindrance.
Yeah. So in that time, I mean, you were just saying, for instance, with umaskandi, you spent time in KZN with people who were performers.
Yes.
Did you do the same with the other genres? So kwela, mbaqanga, did you do the same with the other genres you look at?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
I was so privileged, man. I met the producers who were producing at the Galo, the archivist. You know, I interviewed those guys who were making that music. I interviewed Monama, who was a drummer for Maotela Queens.
Oh, wow.
For Makhola Tsohle. I interviewed Mama Hilda Klubatla from Maotela Queens. I interviewed so many people. I've never thought one day they will give me a pardon. I will take a call, I will take a phone and say, hello, my name is Billy, I'm writing a book. And they're like, we know you guys. You always come here and take the story, and then after that, you don't come back to us anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so those were the challenges. But many people through the research, they've given me a pardon, you know, because I was coming with good intention that, listen, this book is not for me, it's for South Africa and the world.
Mm-hmm. And so when did you go back to them once the book was done, all of the people you'd spoken to?
Well, I'm planning to do a tour of doing that, because the book, I mean, is only published, it's only out 2 weeks. It's still a new baby.
Yeah.
So, but now when I do that tour, my intention is that I need to go having a copy and leave it there with them.
Yeah.
It can be thank you a message.
Yes. That here is the thing that we were working on.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And I made sure that I credit them. And look, like I say that because someone might be listening right now thinking, hey, Billy, I gonna even diploma, you know. I was mentored. I was mentored by professors. My foreword was written by Dr. Sello Galani. I was mentored by Gwen Ansel. I was mentored by Professor Coblen. Those people, they were navigating me, making sure that I'm in the right direction. They're like, Billy, you want to write a book? It's up to you where you start. When you want to start from the bottom or to the top, but have a narrative. What is the narrative? I said my narrative is the black South African musicians. And so the book's about the black South African musicians.
And so it sounds, on one hand, it is the story of the guitar, for instance, and how it is like this recurring, it is like part of the soundtrack of all our lives, right? But it also sounds as if the book goes and finds the people that that were kind of instrumental to
the innovators.
Yeah, the people that we owe so much. Like, for instance, Mahlathini and the Maotela Queens, right? The people that we owe so much of this sound to, and that these are the people you should know, especially us young ones.
Absolutely. And there's someone, I mean, like last year I partnered with City of Johannesburg. I did like a 5-day guitar experience workshop. Mm-hmm. People that were coming, different schools, they were coming in and out. And one of the students was asking me, so why aren't you talking about Oliver Mdugut? And I'm like, this guy, no, man, this is not the time. So now I was very meticulous about who is featured as, the main figures who brought that sound. The innovators. Mm-hmm. For example, when you speak about mbaqanga, you know that the pioneer guitar is Max Mangwani. Mm-hmm. Max Mangwani was recorded with Makhola Tsohle. When you speak about maskanda, the first guy who popularized, who commercialized maskanda, the successful musician, his name was John Bengu. His nickname was called Puzi Shukela. Before there was Puzi Kimis, there was Puzi Shukela.
Oh, was there?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say Puzi Kimis.
No, I didn't make a mistake. These were the musicians who were born in the 1920s.
Right.
And then in the African jazz, you had, and then the main figure was General Duze, was born 1924. And then kwela, you had people like Franz Pilani, and then so there were each and every style, it had its own main figures. But I made sure that I at least put the biographies of about 10 per style of music, and also there is the historical landscape of that. So it's not just walking into the book and then you meet these people. No, I take you through the journey of what is maskanda and the history of it, and so forth. Yeah.
And so, is this book for? I mean, part of the thing is like you want us to know, why the guitar, why these particular people, who are the pioneers. Is this a book for academia, or is it a book for just, if I'm interested as a member of the public, can I pick it up and read it, or is it kind of complicated? Like, who is the book for?
Target market. Target market.
Who is the target market?
Yeah, who's the target market? So, I mean, like, I published the book. I'm going to publish this book in 2 configurations. So now the first segment, it is to make it, for public consumption, for people like you, for people like in the Dan, to pick it up and read about the history of and the evolution of South African music, from maskanda to mbaqanga and so forth. And then the second segment is when it's going to be solely academic, without compromise. Then we engage them, the Department of Education. Then they will follow the structure of, how we should implement it, in schools.
Oh wow!
Yes.
So it will be part of the curriculum.
That's the whole idea.
Okay.
So now, I didn't want the public to miss that, what is about to happen in school, So I'm just giving you guys a history. It's a documentation, of 5 decades, from 1930 to 1980, and then the second volume is gonna be from 1980 to 2000. So now the primary objective of this is for this book to be part of the curriculum. What I fought in varsity back then. Yeah,
and not just at a varsity level, at a schooling,
at the school level,
basic education.
So we're going to design it in a primary, level, and then we go to secondary, and then tertiary.
It feels as if there should be a CD that comes with this book.
I
feel like you should be able to read the book and listen to the music.
No ways, man. Listen, that's where I'm coming. This book is a package.
Okay.
It's a holistic, man. I don't know how to explain this. This book is a package. This book, there are tutorial videos.
Oh wow.
I filmed them in 2020. People, they were like, Billy, what are you doing? I asked money from a National Arts Council. They didn't understand what I was doing. Man, I'm like, guys, please. Then you understand. And then, when you're doing a new project, people, because they are not used to funding unconventional project, they were like, let's try you with R1 and see what's going to happen. I produced tutorial DVDs. They're there to watch, but they're on my website, www.billymonama.co.za. And then I have audio on SoundCloud for free.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
on my website, you pay a subscription of 395.
I feel like that's reasonable. Billy, we need to leave it at that. We're out of time. It's musician and author of Introduction to South African Guitar Styles, Volume 1. It is out. It sounds like a fascinating book.